Josh, please do this in Matt Berry. Let me get... it's not the best at accent. Hang on for a second. New York City. When I was a young boy, my father took me into the city to see a marching band. He said, son, when you grow up, would you be the savior of the broken, the beaten, and the damned? He said, will you defeat them, your demons, and all the non-believers, the plans that they have made? Because one day, I'll leave you a phantom to lead you in the summer to join the Black Parade. I don't know why you wanted that. Does Matt Berry know you're doing this? My lawyers have advised me to say no. It's worrying how you know every lyric of that. I grew up in the internet age. I grew up when old Godzilla was hopping around Tokyo City like a big playground. Some of you have carried on the song. Old Godzilla was hopping around Tokyo City like a big playground when suddenly Batman burst from the shade and hit Godzilla with a bat grenade. Godzilla got pissed and began to attack, but did not expect to be blocked by Shaq, who proceeded to open up a can of Shaq Fu when Eric Carter came out of the blue. I grew up when you could have a copyright song play when someone visited your MySpace. Oh god, yeah, obviously. I'm reciting the old magics. Wait, I know the song, Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny. What is like the millennial anthem? I would say it's probably Smash Mouth, somebody once told me. That or Nickelback. I'm sorry, but I think that Nickelback were far more popular than most people want to admit. Do you guys ever wear those weird shag bands, either in college or high school? And it was just a thin rubber band, and the idea that all the adults hated was like, oh, the legends go, that if you break off a shag band that someone else is wearing, they must perform a certain thing on you, decided by the color of the band. Remember the legends? That was what adults were worried we were doing. They were genuinely worried. That was a UK thing. It was steeped in legends and myth that we didn't understand. They were like, so, you're wearing 5 crazy bands, but you're wearing green, blue, red, yellow, and black. You do understand that if someone breaks one of those bands, they must perform a certain physical activity on you. And I'm like, what? Who made that up? Who created that? What's the activity? They're like, well, it changes depend on the band. Don't say that you have no idea what I'm talking about. You all do. One person made it up. Rules Jimothy. He decided what happened. Josh, are you high? I have never actually done the drug. I've partaken in alcohol, but never the drug. They were called crazy bands, I'm pretty sure. Do you guys also remember that before the internet, schools would have rumors that somehow every school had? Like we all knew that Marilyn Manson had his lower ribs removed, and we all knew that Mew was under the truck, and we all knew someone whose uncle worked at Nintendo. To a degree, the internet has killed whimsy, and to another degree, the internet has brought us a different type of whimsy, where we now focus on analog horror. I love analog horror online, because it's this idea that the scariest things happened before connections were established. And I kind of agree with that. Analog horror, the idea that terrifying things happen most offline. There is also a vibe when you watch any kind of footage that looks like it's come from a VHS. There was a streamer recently, I'm sure I saw this on Livestream Fail. There was a streamer who actually fed the video feed of either their camera or their webcam through a VCR player before they ended up, broadcasting it. And it created this real, authentic, classic kind of late 90s, early 2000s handheld VHS style tape. That was super cool. That was incredible. That was absolutely incredible the way he did that. They were clever. We're also getting the Exit 8 film and the Backrooms film. The Exit 8 film, I'm pretty sure, has existed for a while. Everything on VHS does look creepy. There's probably a VHS filter that I could put on right now, but I'm pretty sure I've already limited my camera to 24 frames a second for the cinematic effect, which is why this looks different to the 60 frames a second that most things go. I've not seen Iron Lung yet, no. I'm very, very, very behind on films. I am a cinematic person, it's true. I can't believe that What level was I when I started this stream? I'm pretty sure I was level 31, possibly 32, because I'm now halfway to level 36. Level 33. I'm sure it wasn't 33. It was lower than that. It was way lower than that. It was either 30... I think it was 32. No, you're all saying 33. Okay. We're all saying level 33. Maybe I was wrong. Let me just run forward and do this. That's why Alien is so creepy. The old-timey vibe to their technology. It does. It does make it creepier. Is it possible? It's possible to use a Game Boy camera for your webcam. That could be cool. Oh, film photography is a hobby of yours, so you can understand how and why it works. Does anyone know the best way to find a guild on WoW Classic era servers? Probably just asking around in the town, to be honest. Oh, those alien slime egg toys. And the rumors were if you put them together in one of the plastic containers within the alien slime, they would have babies. But you have no way of knowing how that works. That's a question. Do you think... What kind of rumors do kids these days have? And I think that it's video game related ones, like, you know, the whole Minecraft and the whatever the creepy dude was in the corner. I think rumors now have to start online. Hero Brian, that was the one, yeah. What kind of... Because what we had there was the monoculture, the idea of the monoculture. Slender Man. Here's another problem. Do you think that the kind of whimsical secrets that this generation will have will, just like the Slender Man film, be turned into corporate product? I honestly do think that it will just be turned into product. I think that all of the creepy stuff will become product. We've had the Slender Man. I mean, look at the fact that we've got the Backrooms film coming out. The Backrooms film isn't coming out because, you know, they think it's a really, really, really good idea. It's coming out because it's got a pre-established audience. It can become product. The Backrooms is coming out. Slender Man came out as a film. Product do be producting, though. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be a bad film. It might even be quite a good film. But it is the idea that you must take stuff that people create as rumors and monetize it. Can stuff exist as whimsy anymore? You are wrong on the Backrooms movie. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. Am I wrong because it's going to be a good movie or a bad movie? Have you seen the film? All right, good job, guys. I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's was an okay first movie, to be fair. Thing is, Five Nights at Freddy's was created as product. It was a game originally that has now been turned into a film. What I'm talking about is something that was created entirely as a whimsical rumor that people have decided, hey, this is now popular enough to monetize. I mean, I'll go and watch the Backrooms movie, absolutely. SCP is a good example. I just think that it's difficult now to create a rumor purely for the sake of for the love of the game. No one's making rumors for the love of the game anymore. It's basically an indie movie from what we know. It's being made by A24. A24 is one of the best film production companies. They aren't massive, you know, AAA multi-billion companies, but they're definitely not indie. A24 is not an indie film company. A24 is a full-time professional film company that have big names and lots of money. They might produce kind of lower budget films, but I wouldn't say that it's possible to compare them to indie as in, you know, a couple of kids from university giving it a go. They make good movies. I mean, Heretic was a fantastic movie. It is independent. Okay, I wouldn't... While I understand that the verbiage of indie and independent are similar, I would not say that a film company being independent means that it is or is not indie in terms of amount of money spent and amount of quality into the film. You can be an independent film company with hundreds of millions of dollars behind you And I don't think anyone would say it's an indie film. You could also be a fresh-faced bunch of filmmakers who are supported by a larger studio who would still absolutely qualify being called an indie film. I think, again, because there's no hard and fast definition of exactly what it is or isn't, it's somewhat complicated to say this is or isn't this thing. I think indie has become separate from what it originally meant. And I think, to me, an indie film is normally a film that's done on a lower budget with less experienced, less full-time professional people. There is no objective definition of indie, but I wouldn't describe A24 as an indie film company to people. I would definitely describe it as a mid-budget film company that focus on slightly more obscure, slightly smaller scale stories. With good quality stuff. Heretic, again, fantastic. Have I watched The Room? Yes, I have. Very interesting film. I think as well there is a... Grok says it's widely considered an indie film company. Okay, Incog, I'm not asking Grok. I'm asking you guys to think. The ability to access all human information at any time has absolutely changed the way conversations do and don't work. Who's Grok? Grok is the AI that you can access through Twitter, and you can tag it with @Grok, and it will ask you questions. You can ask it questions that will answer you. And I do judge people when they use it. I am reading the chat as much as I possibly can and catching up with stuff. I think, again, this is a perfect example of the fact that there is not a hard and fast definition of things. So if you say that indie means independent, as in the word itself means independent, we would have to check whether A24 is fully independent and fully self-funded and not owned by any larger corporation. And then if it means lower experience level, we'd have to check what the experience level of the people involved is. Who defines the definitions? The dictionary people. John Dictionary. Did you max your level or warrior already? No, just changing around what I'm playing for a bit. The definition of indie has definitely been screwed up, yeah. But at some point you have to ask, are we trying to define something, or are we just trying to defeat someone in an argument? Have you made a priest? I don't think so. The Staff of Jordan. Intellect and spirit. Where does that drop from? And how does it look? It looks cool. It spins. Where do you get the Staff of Jordan? I've got the Draenei Priest, but I've not looked into it too much yet. Oh, it's a world drop. Okay. So it can drop anytime, whenever. Cool. How's she doing? Probably fine. Probably fine. Back in your time, Indy was a fictional archaeologist. He wasn't. They named the dog Indiana. They're of the opinions that a central authority should determine the correct language. Oh, I see. Gotcha. I think language is fluid. I think language changes. It's always surprising to me when people go, actually, that word doesn't mean what you think it means because it means this a while ago. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. But you must also understand that the meaning and the use and the general connection of words changes over time. And by saying, actually, that word doesn't mean what you think it means, you are denying the evolution of language. You can have multiple words that all mean different things in different contexts. And I find it fascinating that the meaning of the words does change along with kind of our general social structure with it. Language is wet because it morphs. It's very important to remember this. I've always found it quite strange whenever someone says, actually, that word means this, when they are more interested in being right and less interested in learning what the word has now come to mean. Yeah, still, I completely agree. When people say, actually, that word means this, and they give you the old meaning while ignoring the modern meaning, in a way, they are saying that the modern meaning has no relevance to them, and everyone should use the old static meanings. Let me just kill myself so I can get some mana. Yeah, like the word to decimate. Decimate means 1 in 10. Get removed. I believe that's what it meant originally. Correct me if I'm wrong with that, but I think decimate from the deci, meaning within 10, means 1 in 10. But if you said, oh my god, you know, we ran into a battle and got decimated, what it means is you lost quite badly. No one's going, oh my god, we got decimated, to mean we lost 10%. Even though, you know, linguistically, it means that, it doesn't mean that anymore within contexts. So it's an interesting balance of, I mean, language itself is fascinating. We communicate with other human beings in various ways. Language is one of those ways. Audio waveforms that carry relevant information that can be understood by the brain. We communicate through visual with writing. We communicate through body language. We communicate through rituals. We communicate through sight and sound, and smell, and touch, and taste. We communicate through the lack of any of these things as well. But when you think about it, all language, especially the spoken word, is manipulation of sound waves with your own body to allow somebody else to share your thoughts and to continue the creation of a thought path in someone else that you may never meet. That to me is fascinating. We are limited with what words we know, and we are limited with how we understand those words based on the complexity of the thoughts we're able to convey to somebody else. If you are not able to communicate what you think or what you feel, you are never able to get the complexity of that across to somebody else. And sometimes the method of communication has to overcome that person's emotional frame of mind. When it comes to modern definitions, it often means just one social bubble uses it like that, and the overall older meaning is still dormant within the body of communication. I get where you're coming from, but I think it's more complicated, I believe. I mean, potentially, absolutely. Language can evolve within a group. You can have a single social circle in a university or a college somewhere who use one word to mean something because it's relevant to them, but humanity as a whole would use it differently. And the idea is we can have one word can have many different definitions based on its context. One social bubble can use it like that. The older meaning can use it like that as well. You know what? Jam is a great example, Red Sky. Jam could mean you are playing music together with your friends. Jam could mean the sweet preserve made from strawberries or oranges. Jam could also mean traffic jam. Jam could also mean a machine has stopped. If you say that's a jam in different contexts, it means different things, but you are conveying that thought, that idea, in different contexts with the same word. So the context and the energy that you use a word within also changes the... When I say the meaning of the word, I don't mean that the word itself has an inherent meaning that must be ascribed to it. I mean, in the attempt to communicate whatever you're trying to communicate, that word itself is doing a different job. It's doing a different amount of heavy lifting. It's doing a different... it is a pointer pointing to a different process or element or aspect. It is a sound that carries a feeling. Is that not just a fancy way of explaining context? Yes, it is. But we also have to understand that the way the context is delivered matters too. Because it gets far more complicated. Because you can say something to someone in a way that they absolutely hate, and you can say it in a way that they absolutely love, and you can use the same words, but it can be delivered with body language differences. It can be delivered in a different situation, different context. There's so much variety that you can deliver it with. There is the old linguistic joke that if you say a double negative, it becomes a positive. Such as something like, didn't not. A double negative becomes a positive. And there's the old university joke of a professor says to his class, and yet there is no example where a double positive becomes a negative. And a student replies, yeah, right. Which is a perfect example of a double positive being a negative. It's like the Australian is different if you say, no, yeah, and yeah, no. The word that you say at the end is the word that matters. And a lot of people do struggle with sarcasm. Understanding sarcasm does need you to understand the layers of the word that came before it, though. That's a really interesting way of looking at it. You can only understand what sarcasm is if you understand what it is being sarcastic against. Sarcasm is very hard to detect in text form, which is why we normally use the /s afterwards. Let me know when you're ready for some damage. Hey Josh and gang, what are today's shenanigans? Oh, we've talked about a load of stuff. /s means to say, doesn't it? Normally in a typed way, it normally means sarcastic. If someone says /s at the end of a sentence, it normally means said in a sarcastic way. Ooh, the Scorching Wand. 26 to 49 fire damage, whereas I'm currently doing shadow damage. Does my wand fire damage get increased by my skills that give bonus fire damage? I actually don't know if it does. No, it doesn't. Okay, in that case, get rid of it. Not wands. Gotcha. Yes, we can get more fireworks. We know that you want more fireworks. But Josh, I'm British. Sarcasm is just my natural state of being. Well, I'm sure that's really useful to you. What weapon are you using, Taran? That's super cool. Gut Render. Wounds the target for... That's a badass looking sword, to be fair. You think sarcasm is a pipeline to cynicism? I think that it's very irritating when you meet people who are literally always sarcastic. Have any of you met those kind of people? Every single thing they say has to be sarcastic. Everything they say is a quip. Everything they say is a little kind of jab at you. Everything has to be cynical. Everything is sarcastic. You guys ever do that? Maybe you were that person as a child. Maybe you got over it. I think kids and teenagers do go through this phase where everything they say has to be delivered with a veneer of sarcasm, a veneer of almost arrogant misunderstanding. Most of you probably did it when you were in your late teens. Every single response has to be quippy. Every response has to be dripping in sarcasm. And you think that it gives you a personality when actually it just makes you really insufferable. It's a shield. It is, thank you. Bath, it's a shield from vulnerability. If you don't care about anything, then nothing can ever be used to hurt you. If you have no emotional attachment whatsoever to anything you talk about, then you have no weakness. You have no vulnerability. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to just constantly reinforce the fact that you just do not care. But ultimately that is a very, I think, sad way of being, because nobody ends up wanting to talk to you. And we have had, you gave a great example of House MD. People look at these characters who are meant to be unlikable geniuses, and they take from them the unlikable part without forgetting that you kind of need to take the genius part as well. If you model yourself on an unlikable character with a redeeming trait, it really helps to have the redeeming trait as well. That's what people forget to bring it through. They're also characters that are designed to be archetypes and understandable. They're designed to be immediately dislikable, but likable when you get them. Everything has to be hyper-ironic, self-aware, and meta. Lob, oh man. One thing that really, I don't like to say, oh, all modern writing sucks. No, because most of modern writing is very good. However, there is a subset of modern writing that I believe is prevalent in film, TV, and to a degree theatre and video games, where the writers are almost afraid of being genuine. And so what they do is they layer the genuine feelings behind many, many walls of sarcasm, of wit, of dry comedy, because the alternate is just being vulnerable. The alternate is being genuine. And that, I think, is becoming a rarity. It's a level, I mean, it is to a degree postmodernism, but I think it's a fear of connecting with people in a way that is non-ironic. I think it's a fear of opening yourself up to genuine critique. Do I feel the Marvel Cinematic Universe might be a perpetrator-victim or both? Probably both. It becomes a feedback loop of itself. It's the emotional scene between two characters that reaches its emotional pitch, that pays off the emotional dividends, that has to be bookended with the, well, that got emotional, didn't it? You don't need to constantly, in a meta way, self-reference what did or did not happen in your work, because needing to do that often comes across as almost feeling a lack of confidence in your own work, and feeling that the best way to preemptively address criticism is to almost recognize what they're going to criticize and say that you're doing it ironically. One of the biggest things that I saw whenever I was teaching was students have this obsession with doing something so bad it's good. You see this with film students, you see this with writing, you see this with artists. They always say, I'm going to make this so bad it's good. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're just going to make it bad. You're just saying it's so bad it's good as a preemptive way of shielding yourself from critique that you're going to have, you know, thrown at you. By saying so bad it's good. The Room was made to be a masterpiece, but it takes effort to be something so bad. Yeah, that was it. So bad it's good. When someone says, I'm going to make something so bad it's good, they actually mean, I'm going to try and make something, but I also want to preemptively shield myself from criticism if it isn't very good, so I can enjoy it in a kind of post-irony way. When if you asked most people how they feel about their own work, they would say, I want this to be good. The way that you make something so bad it's good is by earnestly trying to make something good. If you actually genuinely put your heart and soul into making something good, even if it ends up crap, it will still be entertaining. The Room was made to be good. Rocky Horror Picture was made to be good, and it is good. It's super entertaining. Birdemic was made to be good. Sharknado was made with earnest love and care. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was made with a level of, you know, self-irony and meta-reverence, but they gave it a bloody good go. Only the first two. After that, they kind of get a bit onwards. Yeah, Tommy Wiseau changed what The Room was retroactively. Is making something so bad it's good by taking something that it's so bad and trying to make it the best it could possibly be. That's another way of doing it. The reason that I push back against the so bad it's good mentality is I often see it used as a preemptive defense to shield people's ego from why something isn't received very well. When you say this is bad on purpose, what you're actually saying is you can't criticize me because if you don't like it, that was the point. And that, I think, is disingenuous from trying to make something. I think that holds people back from being earnest. I think it holds people back. It's especially a modern thing where people use the it's meant to suck mentality of justifying why they aren't giving it their best go. You used to do that a lot as a teenager for the exact reasons. Yeah. It's why I think I like Expedition 33. Expedition 33 did not feel the need to constantly reference itself in a meta-ironic way. It actually genuinely wanted to have a heart and a soul to it. It really wanted to make the central kind of conflict earnest. And that's what I like. I love the fact that it was comfortable being uncomfortable with itself. It's rare to get that. I think it's why I like old Star Trek. I like the original Star Trek, I like Star Trek The Next Generation, because conversations are not laced in self-referential irony, they are had in earnest. You're actually watching people, the characters at least, talk in a genuine way, in a way that is trying to connect to each other, to themselves, to the situation, whereas I think a lot of modern Star Trek feels the need to almost preemptively apologize for itself. Have I seen Free Run? Half of it. I've not seen all of it, but again, I really like that. I prefer storytelling that, yeah, it takes its internal logic seriously. That's a great way of putting it. Zach says there are so many better animes, Free Run is overhyped. Zach, just let people like things, man. You don't need to like it, but let people like things. Let people be happy. I'm not a massive fan of Marvel movies, but if someone comes along and says, hey man, I love Marvel movies. All right, cool, you do you. Let people like things. I like One Piece. I like Free Run. I like My Hero Academia. I like Steins Gate. I like the original Yu-Gi-Oh! I like Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. What's wrong with Marvel movies? I feel that they have been created with a framework and a formula that is almost designed to manipulate the audience to feel what they need them to feel at any given time, instead of having something that they earnestly want to say or do, or anything that the director or actors want to explore. I don't think that they are bad films to sit down and watch with a bucket of popcorn, but I also don't think that they appeal to me personally, because I don't think they have a huge amount to say. Raina says, like most movies. And no, like most kind of Hollywood cinema movies. There are a huge amount of films out there that are made by people who are, you know, not as famous, not as rich, not as, you know, well known, who are, you know, saying things that matter to them. We pulled a wizard from behind, guys. But if you enjoy it, great. This is what I struggle with. People hear me say that I don't like something, and they hear me give the reasons for me not liking it, and they think that what I'm doing is telling them why they shouldn't like it. I don't care if you do or don't like something, I'm just saying it's not for me personally. Because I have a limited amount of time to consume a limited amount of art, and I don't want to consume art that looks visually pretty that doesn't speak to me in a deeper way. Not liking something does not equal bad. With a limited amount of time, I want to engage with stuff that I think is created with an emotional resonance behind it. I think that you can feel the emotional difference if you watch The Lord of the Rings and then go and watch The Hobbit. Because I think while these are both products, and while I understand they were both designed to make money, I think one of them, The Lord of the Rings, was made with a huge amount of love and passion and care and depth of understanding of the material, while I think The Hobbit was created in order to get people to go and watch The Hobbit. But at the same time, if you turn around and say to me, oh, I love The Hobbit, cool, more power to you. Great, I'm not going to yuck your yum. I'm not going to say that you are wrong for enjoying and gaining value from art that I don't personally gain value from. And I think so many people put so much personal validation and personal stock into whether they do or don't like artwork that is being created by forces outside of them, that when people turn around and say, I don't like this artwork, they think they're saying they don't like them. You don't like a lot of popular anime, not because they're popular, the dialogue is so many of them, the overconfident smugness makes you cringe, which stops you from watching Dragon Ball Z, and some stronger guy shows up. I enjoy Dragon Ball Z for what it is. I think sometimes you have to meet things on what they are. And this is why if me and a friend are going to sit down and watch a popcorn movie, cool, we'll chuck some Marvel on. I'm not going to argue against it. If I'm with my group of friends, I'm not going to say, lads, we're not watching Marvel movies, okay? They don't intellectually stimulate me enough, okay? We're going to be sitting down watching Everything Everywhere All at Once, pausing every 10 minutes to discuss the philosophical ramifications of what we've just seen. No. I can enjoy stuff. It's fine to enjoy stuff. But sometimes you have to meet stuff on the same level as what it's trying to be. Like, I'm sure some people will think that's a good time. But if I'm hanging out with a group of people and they're like, hey man, who wants to put on Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs in the background and play some beer pong? I'm not going to sit down and go, oh, you absolute fool. You complete simpleton. We are going to sit down, drink Courvoisier, and watch Requiem for a Dream. And only when all of us have contemplated the futility of existence will I consider beer pong. Because that would make me an insufferable douchebag. So I'm not going to do that. I think some people who feel the need... And again, you've triggered me to go on this speech because you had to say that you didn't like... You thought that Free Room was an overrated anime. It's fine to think it's overrated, but don't make people feel bad for enjoying it. Don't make people feel inferior for enjoying art that you don't enjoy. Opinions are not objective. Opinions can be subjective. Well-given speeches have become a part of my job now. They apparently have. It is very important to occasionally reframe how we interact with people and realize that not, and I know this is rich coming from a Twitch streamer, not everyone needs to know when you dislike something. People seem to have this desire of whenever someone talks about something they dislike, they think it's their duty to inform people that they dislike it. You can just let people like things. Like if some of my friends are talking about a show or a book or a movie or a band or a game that I don't like I don't feel the need to interject myself into that conversation and be like, just so you know, man, that game sucks. Because that would be rude of me. Also, when you say this thing sucks, you're almost demanding someone acknowledges that they're wrong for enjoying something. You hear that a lot whenever you say Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 is different. Dark Souls 2 makes a lot of choices that I actually really like. I think Dark Souls 2 is definitely a more difficult game for me to enjoy. But you know what I really like about Dark Souls 2? Remember the Pursuer in Dark Souls 2? That boss that just shows up randomly in different places? That was awesome. And the fact that if you replay Dark Souls 2, when you do the New Game Plus, the boss shows up in a different place. Remember that spider boss in Dark Souls 2? When you play it on New Game Plus, it actually changes where the bosses are, which I think is really cool. That's got a great choice. Have you ever noticed that whenever you don't like something, or whenever someone else doesn't like something, the first thing they have to do is tell you how much it sucks? What they never do is find something they like about it. What they never do straight away is go, you know what, I actually really enjoy. If you are talking about something you like, and somebody else is familiar with that thing but they don't like it, they will immediately start a confrontational conversation where they tell you what they don't like about it, instead of jumping in with something that they do. Because humans bond over misery far more than we bond over positivity. Now we're just talking about human nature. Misery loves company, man. Misery straight up loves company. Guys, we are gaining insane experience from this, by the way. This is fantastic. I've been playing for 6 hours and gained nearly 3 levels, which is excellent. I would say it's excellent. Why do players have the same icons on their action bar? Oh, do you mean these ones down here? All the water breathing? I thought it was funny. What do I think about the rules of nature? I think about them all the time, man. All the time. I don't know what rules of nature are. Is this meant to be a meme thing or a show? How often do I think about the Roman Empire? Honestly, like all men, once every 2 or 3 seconds.